something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
The Ubiquitous chip, when it opened in 1971, it was actually at a different location. It was just across the road in Ruthven Lane. And it was essentially everything that dining, especially in the West End, wasn't. So the idea was Ronnie wasn't a trained chef. He got his qualifications as he went along, basically cooked food his mum would cook, traditional Scottish food.
The success of the chips is down to many things really. It started obviously a long time ago by Ronnie. It was founded way back in 1971. And one of the things that he did was he concentrated on bringing some of Scotland's finest and probably at the time less known ingredients to the restaurant table. Yeah, Ronnie certainly was one of the first, almost a pioneer if you like, for fine dining in Scotland. You could say that he was probably the first to do it.
Food in vogue was very French. Everything sautéed in brandy, generally at your table, like flambéed in front of you. Most fine dining restaurants made you wear a tie and jacket, and if you didn't have one, you were provided with one. There's quite a funny anecdote of Ronnie's I've read, which was when he inquired about a red wine, the waiter said, he said, "I've not heard much about this wine," and the waiter said, "That, sir, is a red wine," and walked off. And that was kind of indicative of the dining here, the snooty waiters. And so he wanted to get right away from that and have a restaurant where you had family-style dining like you would have at your mum's table, but with sort of nicer service, I would say. The brasserie is the most diverse, I would say, most diverse menu, catering for the huge demographics outside of fine dining, while still offering a fine dining style experience.
The restaurant itself, it's almost like a kind of cornucopia, plants and water. It's a unique setting. There's not really many places like it. It's certainly the only place I can think of where you're sitting in an atmosphere kind of like the courtyard in the chip. It's
a unique restaurant in Glasgow, I think, and we have people that have had no idea that it even existed until they've wandered in and seen a glass-roofed, basically tropical garden set on a cobbled street inside. We have dishes from around the world, always with a Scottish twist. We do our things like surf and turf, which is really, whilst you get lobsters and steak all over Scotland, it's something that I equate with for a tropical sort of setting. We get as much of our ingredients as we can for all of this locally, organically where possible, and ethically sourced. That's probably one of the most important features of the chip. We try to use as much as possible ingredients and products from in and around Scotland. We talked just briefly before about the high quality of the produce. And I think it's important, you know, in our location to make the most of what's available to us and almost educating people in what's in and around Scotland. It's got such a great larder. And again, that was one of the kind of beginning ideas that Ronnie Clydesdale set up way back in the 70s. And we still try as much as possible this day to kind of keep those beliefs going. The chip will remain largely unchanged in its levels of service, in the look of the place. It's got a very sort of unique look, I think. Hopefully in another 40 years the chip will still be here. I'm not sure if I'll still be here in 40 years, wait and see. As long as we keep diversifying, we keep being inventive with the menus and with the drinks and making sure it's a team effort. I believe that the future of the chip's cemented in the West End.